The Varn flagship Resplendent Harmony drifted into Earth orbit like a silver god, a testament to 6,000 years of expansionist diplomacy. Its hull shimmered with self-healing alloys, psionic wave projectors hummed beneath its surface, and 6 escort vessels held formation like loyal wolves around a matriarch. In the Situation Room beneath Geneva, Admiral Vietrin's image hovered in the air, 8 feet tall, regal and alien. His translucent skin shimmered with a bioluminescent pulse that matched his mood. Confident, faintly amused. "You are offered peaceful integration into the Varn collective," he said, the words spoken in flawless English through a translator embedded in his thoracic crest. "Decline, and your resistance will be managed." Ambassador Ren Kaido didn't blink. The tall, middle-aged diplomat leaned forward just enough to make eye contact with the image, though he knew it was symbolic. The Varn valued composure, precision, and dominance. What they didn't expect was silence. Behind Kaido, Colonel Mara Reyes stood with arms crossed, silent in her combat fatigues. Her eyes were sharp, military sharp, reading everything, saying nothing. The room was packed with top brass, scientists, analysts, and shadowy figures whose departments didn't technically exist. Earth was unified, sort of, at least when someone parked a psychic battleship over the North Pole. Vietrin paused, expecting some kind of submission. Instead, Kaido raised a calm hand. "We appreciate your generous terms," he said, voice smooth as silk over gravel. "We request 72 Earth hours to review and discuss." The alien's bioluminescence flickered, briefly like a twitch. "You require time to deliberate on survival." Reyes finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, deliberate. "You should hope we say yes." The transmission cut with a ripple of static. Silence fell in the room like a dropped anvil. 17 minutes later, Geneva's secure subterranean facility, level B3. "They're not bluffing," said Reyes, pacing the steel floor. "But they think we are." Kaido leaned against the steel briefing table, his face unreadable. "They saw our ships, our orbital grid, our fusion capacity. And they came anyway." Dr. Anika Shah tapped through satellite readings on a hollow screen. "They're not here to destroy us. Not yet. This is a test, an imperial evaluation. They want us to react emotionally, prove their assumptions." Reyes snorted. "Good luck with that." "Let's be honest," said Shah. "From a pure power projection standpoint, they're decades ahead. If they wanted us gone, they'd glass a continent." Kaido rubbed his temple. "Which means they're underestimating us. Not just militarily," Shah added. "Culturally. Philosophically." Kaido looked up. "Then let's teach them why humans avoid war." Day 1, Hour 8, Varn Observation Deck, Resplendent Harmony. Vietrin observed Earth through a shimmering viewport. His adjutant, a smaller Varn named Krilvier, floated beside him. "They are stalling," Krilvier said. "Do they not understand what they face?" "They understand nothing," Vietrin replied. "They are emotional, fractured, indulgent. The only thing uniting them is fear." Krilvier's skin flickered pale green doubt. "Still, their silence is calculated." Vietrin's glow dimmed slightly. "Perhaps. Or perhaps they do not know how to respond to inevitability." Unbeknownst to the Varn, they were being observed. Not just by satellites, but by Earth's most elusive defense protocol, the Glass Watch. Hidden AI-guided sensors, once a Cold War myth, now alive beneath the sea and buried deep in the moon's crust. And the Glass Watch was listening. Day 2, Strategic Defense Network Command, Siberian Complex. Reyes stood before a wall of monitors showing Varn ship positioning, communications pings, and heat map stress analysis on world governments. She tapped one screen, showing a global psychological pulse, media chatter, social stress signals, behavioral shifts in civilian populations. "They're expecting protests. Chaos. Panic," she said. "And they're not getting it," Shah replied. "We've normalized the fear response." "It's weird." "No," Reyes said. "It's human." Kaido entered, holding a slim datapad. "We've finished linguistic mapping of their diplomatic style. They respect precision, hierarchy, and dominance." "So," Reyes asked, "we play it like a wolf pack?" Kaido gave a thin smile. "No. We play it like a civilization that survived its own extinction timeline. A moment of silence passed between them. Then, Reyes said, "It's time we dust off Protocol 9. Kaido hesitated. "That's a cold era fallback. We'd be admitting that we planned for gods," Reyes finished, "and didn't like our odds." He nodded slowly. Day 2, Hour 16, message to the Varn. Veetran's face appeared again in the Earth Council chamber. Ambassador Kaido addressed him with the weight of centuries in his voice. "We have reviewed your request. Humanity does not wish to engage in warfare. We know what it brings. We know what it costs. But you misunderstand our peace." Veetran tilted his head. "You claim strength and avoidance." Kaido stepped forward. "We are not a species that fears conflict. We are a species that remembers it." Reyes stood beside him now. "You see our calm and think us weak. But calm is the silence before a volcano." "We invite you," Kaido said, "to reconsider your position. We will not initiate hostilities, but we will finish them." The feed cut again, deliberately this time. Day 3, Hour 2, Varn Internal Command Council. Veetran fumed. "This species speaks in riddles and threats. They have not attacked. They issue no demands," Krilvier said. "They simply stand." "They are bluffing," Veetran growled. "Their silence is desperation." Krilvier hesitated. "Perhaps, or perhaps it is restraint." The command room fell into a hum of psionic feedback, a stillness before decisions. Emotional and thematic core. This chapter sets the tone. Humanity is a species that has seen its own potential for destruction and chosen, again and again, to contain it. To the Varn, restraint appears as cowardice. To humans, it is wisdom hard-earned in blood. This is not the story of humans discovering courage. It's about others discovering what humans have already buried deep, for everyone's sake. Chapter 1, Closing Line. As Earth rotated beneath the Varn flagship, its lights twinkling like the eyes of a sleeping dragon, Reyes whispered to no one in particular. "They wanted to see if we'd fight. They still don't understand. We're the ones who hope we never have to. Let me know when you're ready for Chapter 2, or if you'd like audio or visual versions of the chapter." Low Earth orbit. 724 Universal Time Coordinated, Day 4 of contact. It started with a flicker. Just a momentary drop in comms traffic between two orbital relay stations. Then came the blackout. 23% of Earth's satellites, communications, weather, GPS, military, vanished from the grid in less than 6 minutes. No explosions. No debris. Just gone. Varn precision strikes had surgically removed them, like nerves severed from a spine. The message was clear: we can take everything from you. Easily. On board the resplendent Harmony, Admiral Veetran paced along the length of the command deck, his bioluminescence pulsing a cool blue of confidence. Around him, subordinate Varn floated at attention, their psionic relays thrumming quietly. "Their orbital shell is compromised," said Krilvier. "Human response remains minimal." Veetran let out a low trill. "They believe silence gives them leverage. We will demonstrate otherwise." No one noticed the tiny glimmer just above the moon's dark side, a cold, silent watcher activating for the first time in 72 years. Geneva Secure Facility, Earth Defense Command. The atmosphere inside the war room wasn't panic, it was quiet, razor-edge calculation. Colonel Reyes watched the monitors flash red as entire orbital zones went dark. "They took the bait," she muttered. Ambassador Kaido nodded, arms folded tightly across his chest. Still assuming dominance leads to control. Classic imperial doctrine. Dr. Shaw stood near the holotable, eyes flicking across the analysis feed. "We're detecting gravity distortions, meaning they didn't destroy our satellites. They took them, trying to analyze our tech." Reyes asked. Shaw shrugged. "Or testing our emotional response. Either way, they crossed the line." Reyes turned to Kaido. "Time to escalate." He didn't argue. "Activate Project Gorgon." Project Gorgon. Codename from the Cold War's twilight years, so secret it was buried under 10 layers of misdirection. Not a weapon in the traditional sense. Not even a system. It was a principle, decentralized retaliation through automated kinetic response. Dozens of weaponized satellites, disguised as inactive debris. Some pre-AI, others smarter than anything publicly acknowledged. They waited in low power states, hidden and forgotten. Until now. Lunar orbit, Varn interceptor eclipses. Unidentified motion detected at vector 3317. Relative approach speed, 16,000 kilometers per hour. The Varn pilot clicked a command into his neural interface. A lens extended. Debris. No, replied the ship AI. Trajectory matches deliberate targeting pattern. Then the sky screamed. A tungsten rod, the size of a telephone pole, traveling at orbital velocity, struck the eclipses. There was no explosion, just instant conversion of mass into kinetic devastation. Where the interceptor had been, there was now nothing. Resplendent harmony, bridge. Alarms shrieked across the Varn fleet. Systems flared red. VE Trin's composure fractured. What was that? Krill stared at the readouts. A kinetic impact. Human origin. Autonomous satellite weapon. No launch signature. No warning. VE Trin hissed. They have primitive sticks. We wield suns. Krill VA's bioluminescence dimmed. Perhaps, but they aim their sticks very well. Geneva 1 hour later. We've received their transmission, Kaito said, his face unreadable. Shaw glanced up from her console. Let me guess. Outrage masked as diplomacy. He played the message. VE Trin's image reappeared, this time frayed around the edges. The arrogance was still there, but tempered just slightly. You escalate with crude relics of your past, VE Trin growled. Is this how you conduct peace? Reyes leaned into the camera feed. You took our satellites. We took a scout. Fair trade. You risk total annihilation. Reyes's eyes turned cold. We prepared for that long before you arrived. VE Trin blinked. His bioluminescence faltered. Kaito stepped in. You believe humans fear war. And you're right. We fear what we become when we fight. He paused. But you've made a mistake. You forced us to remember how. Human Psychology Division, Global AI Lab, Iceland. Dr. Anika Shaw paced across a circular room lined with screens showing alien telemetry, psychometric profiling, and Varn historical logs. Their arrogance isn't personal, she explained over a secure feed. It's cultural. Their species emerged with psionic abilities. Dominance became a biological imperative. And their fear response, Reyes asked, watching from Geneva. Suppressed. Conditioned out of their command caste. Emotion equals instability in their hierarchy. But it also makes them predictable. Reyes raised an eyebrow. You can exploit that? Shaw hesitated. I can simulate scenarios that introduce controlled instability. Misinformation. Psychological feints. We trick them into fearing themselves. You okay with that? Shaw looked down. No. But it's better than war. Low orbit, day 5. The Varn fleet recalibrated its positions. Their scout formations narrowed. Civilian scans picked up rising comms chatter between Varn vessels. Heated, fragmented. Earth's population had returned to an eerie calm. No riots. No panic. Instead, quiet awe. In Nairobi, a child pointed to the sky and asked her grandfather, Is that the enemy? No, he said. That's the lesson. Flashback sequence. Reyes's memory. Afghanistan, 2041. Smoke. Dust. The taste of copper in her mouth. Reyes crouched behind a broken wall, hard hammering as mortar rounds fell around her. A local boy, a translator, no older than 15, sobbed beside her, clutching a bloodied arm. You ever wonder why we let things get this bad? She whispered. The boy stared at her. She'd never forgotten the look. Back in the present, Reyes stood before the hologram of Earth, the scars of her past just under the surface. Because we always think we can wait one more day. Earth Council Chamber, Day 5, 1800 hours, Universal Time Coordinated. Another message arrived. But this one was quieter. VE Trin's image appeared with a different tone. A question, not a threat. You fight without engagement. You deploy without declarations. You risk escalation, and yet remain calm. Why? Kaito answered. Because we've seen what happens when we don't. He looked at the camera with something between pity and warning. Your first mistake was thinking peace meant fear. Reyes stepped forward. Your second, she said, was showing us your teeth and assuming we didn't have our own. Final scene. Mars Observation Station Ares Relay. High above Mars' surface, an old human station blinked to life. Not part of Project Gorgon, not armed, not fast, just visible. Varn sensors picked up its broadcast, a single encrypted message sent directly to their flagship. The content: a video file, images of World War II, Hiroshima, the Cold War, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Moon Landing, the Gulf War, 9/11, the AI collapse of 2067, the Treaty of Beijing, and, finally, footage of Earth today. United, watching, waiting. A single line accompanied the file, translated automatically. We have mastered destruction. Our strength is in choosing not to use it. Chapter 2 closing beat. In the silence of space, as Earth turned below and the stars blinked cold above, Admiral Veitran stared at the human file again. This wasn't a primitive race, avoiding war. This was a tamed monster, quietly reminding the galaxy it still had teeth. Themes highlighted: human strategic unpredictability, psychological warfare over brute force, fear not as weakness, but as wisdom. You said, emotional restraint as evolved strength. Let me know when you're ready for Chapter 3, or if you'd like this adapted into another format, audio script, animation outline, or serialized post. Day 6, aboard Varn flagship Resplendent Harmony. Admiral Veitran was silent as the holographic image of Earth rotated before him, its atmosphere glowing blue and gold. For the first time in decades, perhaps centuries, he hesitated. They are not reacting in any way we anticipated, said Krilvier, his subordinate. Even the subjugated species we absorbed before, the Eryx, the Velantri, showed immediate fear or rebellion. Veitran's bioluminescence pulsed pale, like a heartbeat slowing. Humans show neither, he muttered. Only restraint. Calculation. Behind them, the fleet command staff reviewed projections. Every simulation model built by the Varn centuries ago failed to predict the events of the last 48 hours. The human response was neither passive nor aggressive. It was unclassifiable. A junior strategist, bold from youth or stupidity, spoke out. Shall we proceed with atmospheric intimidation? A low orbital sweep? A brief show of force? Veitran turned. The strategist stopped speaking mid-breath. No, Veitran said. We observe. And we test again. Quietly. Earth, Geneva Strategic Defense Complex. Colonel Mara Reyes was unwrapping an old MRE when Kaito walked in. Breakfast, she offered dryly. He shook his head. I don't eat when aliens are watching. Reyes smirked. Suit yourself. Chewy, nostalgic. Tastes like military failure. Fitting. Reyes finished chewing. We've been holding back. Buying time. Time for what? Kaito asked. Reyes wiped her fingers, stood, and walked to the ops console. A flick of her wrist brought up a classified projection, something buried beneath 10 different access layers. Project Silo. Kaito frowned. That's not on the active deterrence list. Reyes's face hardened. It is now. The screen displayed several hardened underground launch facilities, long since repurposed or decommissioned, officially. Each was a relic of a time when nuclear annihilation had a name and a countdown. What's the trigger? Kaito asked. Same as it always was, Reyes said. If they land troops. Lunar far side. Human listening post, Oblivion Edge. Buried beneath 2 kilometers of lunar regolith, a deep space monitoring array came online. The system pinged, silently, as something moved on the edge of Earth's gravity well. Not an attack. A probe. It was cloaked in gravimetric distortion, mimicking space debris, but not well enough. Operators flagged it. It wasn't from the Varn flagship. It was independent. Varn Council ship, second thought. In orbit behind the moon. A breakaway Varn faction had detached from the main fleet. Known internally as the Quiet Minds, this council of dissidents had long debated the Varn's conquest policies. But their voices had always been overruled by the psionically dominant command caste. Until now, Elder Janek, glowing with a deep green hue of contemplation, watched footage of the human data transmission loop, mushroom clouds, war memorials, diplomatic summits. Are we certain these images are accurate? He asked his aide. Confirmed. Extracted from public and encrypted channels. No evidence of deception. Janek leaned forward. These creatures remember their violence. A pause. And yet, they have chosen not to become it. Day 7, Varn Fleet-wide Council, emergency session. Admiral Veitran's authority was being challenged. The Quiet Minds had forced an emergency session, a rare act that hadn't occurred in 3 Varn generations. Every ship in orbit now streamed into a central neural net, a shared conference that pulsed with psionic debate. This is unprecedented, Veitran growled. They are primitives, dangerous, yes, but ultimately beneath our mandate. Janek's voice cut through the chamber. Come. Surgical. They are not beneath us. They are beyond us in one critical way. The chamber stirred. They have mastered what we never have, the ability to walk away from the brink. A ripple of emotional dissonance spread through the psionic link. Janek continued. We dominate because we believe fear must guide order. But Earth is unified, not through control, but through understanding. Through shared trauma. Veitran's skin flared with anger. You propose we surrender to empathy? No, said Janek. I propose we evolve. Geneva, Day 7, Hour 15. Ambassador Kaido entered the command room with a stunned expression. They've sent a diplomatic transmission. From a different ship. Reyes raised an eyebrow. A mutiny? Not exactly. A faction. They call themselves the Quiet Minds. Dr. Shah accessed the data feed. Signals clean. No obvious traps. Messages direct. They want a diplomatic envoy. Private. No recording. No Varn military presence. Reyes looked at Kaido. You going? He looked back at her. We're going. Moonbase Selene, neutral ground. A temporary structure was erected at the edge of a lava tube. Neutral, isolated, and monitored by both sides. Reyes, Kaido, and Shah descended in a sleek orbital shuttle, armed not with weapons but history. Waiting for them were 3 Varn. Elder Janek spoke first. We speak not for conquest, but for comprehension. Kaido offered a subtle bow. We're listening. Janek began. You must understand, we were bred into dominance. Our minds are psionically tethered to our emotions. Fear is inefficient. So we removed it. Dr. Shah replied softly, You didn't remove fear. You just outsourced it. To others. A silence fell. Janek nodded. Perhaps. And now we face a species who remembers the cost of violence and chose not to erase it. Reyes crossed her arms. So what now? Janek stepped forward. We propose an exchange. Knowledge. Philosophy. Peaceful integration. Not through subjugation, but dialogue. Reyes tilted her head. And Veitran. Janek's tone darkened. He still believes in conquest. But he no longer speaks for all of us. Orbit. Resplendent harmony. Admiral Veitran stood alone on the observation deck. He watched the human shuttle return from the moon and knew. Something fundamental had shifted. Earth. Public broadcast network. The human Varn contact was leaked. Within hours, news networks spun stories of diplomacy, of factions within the alien fleet, of restraint, of choice. Fear began to recede, not because danger had passed, but because hope had returned. In Rio, strangers hugged. In Tokyo, children painted the Varn in murals. In Lagos, elders gathered to speak of ancient wars and why they ended. Day 8, Varn internal command split. For the first time in collective history, a Varn fleet split command while still in active orbit. Half the ships powered down weapons and moved into passive observation. Veitran's response. He activated Dominion Protocol, a full psionic override. But the override failed. The Quiet Minds had already rerouted their command chains. Disobedience had become evolution. Closing scene, Earth orbit. Admiral Veitran looked down at Earth with something he had never truly felt before, doubt. His final order, prepare the planetary subjugation protocols. A final test. But even as he issued the command, he knew the humans would not strike first. They didn't want war. They wanted to be left alone. And that made them more dangerous than any empire he'd ever faced. Closing lines. You think we're choosing peace because we're afraid, Reyes said once. No, she corrected him. We're choosing peace because we know what happens when we stop. Chapter 3 Summary. Main events. Varn attempts psychological escalation, but begin to splinter. Emergence of the Quiet Minds, a dissenting Varn faction. Secret diplomatic meeting between humans and Varn pacifists. Public knowledge of the alien contact begins to shift from fear to hopeful awe. Veitran prepares for final retaliation, but control is slipping. Key character development. Reyes begins to see diplomacy not as weakness, but as a weapon of its own. Kaido solidifies his role as a bridge between species. Dr. Shaw gains recognition as the key to understanding alien psychology. Janek is introduced as a reflective, complex alien leader. Major conflict, or turning point. First formal Varn rebellion in orbit. Earth finally starts to influence Varn society instead of being merely reactive. Thematic beats. Restraint versus control. Peace is a strategic choice. Cultural evolution through trauma. Camaraderie between former enemies. World-building elements. Ancient human contingency plans like Project Silo. Varn culture's psionic hierarchy and emotional suppression. Lunar diplomacy and neutral ground protocols. The viral impact of public human-alien contact. Let me know when you're ready for Chapter 4, the climactic confrontation and the payoff of humanity's restraint, ingenuity, and hidden ferocity. Day 9, Low Earth Orbit. Admiral Veitran stood at the center of the Resplendent Harmony's command nexus, eyes fixed on Earth's shimmering blue curve. His remaining loyal ships floated like silent sentinels in low orbit. The others, the Quiet Minds, as they now called themselves, remained at distance, weapons cold, sensors passive, minds no longer linked to central command. It was treason, but more than that, it was change. And Veitran feared change more than he feared death. Begin atmospheric incursion, he said flatly. Crilvier flinched. Sir, even among the loyalists, there are murmurs. We've not faced retaliation. That is the problem. Veitran barked, his bioluminescence flaring crimson. They won't retaliate, because they are biding time, because they are playing a long game. He paused, voice lower now. Because they are like us. Crilvier didn't reply. Geneva, Earth Defense Command. Colonel Reyes watched a satellite feed as 3 Varn dreadnoughts pierced the upper atmosphere in a tight formation, their drives glowing violet. They're coming in low, she muttered. Test run or intimidation? Dr. Shaw, pale and tense, replied. Probably both. Any response from the Quiet Minds? Kaido stepped in. Yes. Janek sent a message. He tapped a pad. A calm voice echoed. The predator tests the bars of a cage, not to escape, but to see who placed them. Reyes narrowed her eyes. He thinks we've caged Veitran. No, Kaido said. He's warning us. Veitran still believes he holds the key. Earth orbit, Varn strike formation. 3 dreadnoughts cut through the upper ionosphere, their hulls crackling with energy as they prepared to fire non-lethal kinetic scatterbursts, intended to rupture military installations without triggering nuclear fallout. No destruction, just paralysis. As Veitran prepared the command, a new signature appeared on sensors. Not from Earth, not from the Moon, from Mars. Mars orbit, human defense relic Ares Watcher. Believed lost decades ago in a dust storm, Ares Watcher was humanity's first interplanetary defense testbed, an abandoned AI-run kinetic defense platform embedded into Phobos. Today it woke up. Its systems still recognized Earth's old war codes. And someone, somewhere, had activated a ghost protocol. Veitran's dreadnoughts detected the incoming projectiles seconds before impact. There were 9. Each rod traveled at 12,000 meters per second, heat-shielded, guided by a chain of still-functioning microsatellites bouncing signal from Phobos to low Earth orbit. The scatter pattern was surgical. One dreadnought's hull caved in on itself like a crumpled shell. Another's shielding failed, and plasma breached the interior. The third was disabled mid-fall, trailing smoke, sparks, and shattered psionic relays as it broke off and spun out toward the Pacific. Veitran screamed across the neural link. Who ordered this? Geneva, Earth Defense, Command Hub. Reyes stared in horror and awe. That wasn't us. Dr. Shaw blinked. You didn't activate Ares Watcher? No, Reyes replied. We decommissioned it years ago. Kaido looked up, stunned. Then who? Someone who never stopped preparing, Reyes said grimly. Not a general. A technician. a fail-safe engineer. Someone who believed Earth still needed monsters under the bed. Dr. Shaw's voice was small. So we didn't start this war. Kaito finished. But the ghosts of our paranoia just might. Orbit, resplendent harmony bridge. Veitrin collapsed against a console, bleeding from one eye, his psionic field fraying from shock. They lied, he growled. They said they'd evolved. But they still hide monsters in their shadows. Krilvier whispered, perhaps that is why they survived so long. Because they never truly forgot how to fight. Veitrin's head lifted slowly. Then they will now learn what it means to face the pure mind unleashed. He activated Penance Protocol, a fleet-wide command designed to annihilate the surface of a hostile world in one prolonged, multi-vector assault. A planetary cauterization. The order was sent, but it didn't transmit. Nothing did. Quiet Mind's ship, second thought. Jeanet's crew had anticipated this. Using a secret psionic disruptor array designed from human neurobiology studies, they created a dead zone around Earth. A pocket of mental static. Veitrin's override signal never left the bridge. On board second thought, a broadcast was prepared. Not to Earth, not to Veitrin, but to the Varn collective homeworld. The feed showed humans, not violent, not broken, but whole. Collaborating, laughing, mourning. Children helping elders. Scientists guiding drones to regrow forests. Old veterans laying flowers at war memorials. The closing line. They fear war because they have seen it. And still, they stood ready to show us peace. On Earth, Geneva, Ambassador Kaito and Colonel Reyes stood on the rooftop as dawn approached. They haven't retaliated, she said. No, Kaito answered. And that may be the most human thing we've done yet. He looked up as several Varn ships slowly turned away from Earth orbit. Even Resplendent Harmony began to drift back, its weapons cold, systems dormant. Reyes exhaled. Is it over? No, he said. But I think we've won. Scene shift, Varn collective homeworld. Across the stars, the Varn Council watched the feed in silence. It was not a broadcast of weakness, but one of terrible, quiet strength. Elder minds pondered. Generals grew quiet. The word human spread across psionic networks like a slow wave of awe and dread. The Empire would not invade Earth. Not now. Perhaps not ever. Final scene. Earth, Monument Valley. Weeks later, the first joint summit between humanity and the quiet minds took place beneath red stone spires. There were no warships, no guards, only thinkers. Jeanette stood beside Reyes, looking at the horizon. Your people chose peace. Reyes nodded. Not because it's easy. Because it's necessary. Jeanette turned to her. If we had met you 100 years ago, would you have destroyed us? Reyes smirked. Probably. He smiled with his eyes. Then we are grateful you evolved just enough. Epilogue. The universe would remember what happened. Not a battle. Not a surrender. But a moment when one species, haunted by its violent past, chose not to flinch, not to beg, and not to strike. They chose to endure. And in doing so, they taught an empire what fear could become, and what strength truly was. White heavy checkmark Chapter 4 Summary. Main events. Veitrin initiates an orbital strike. A relic Martian defense AI autonomously retaliates. Earth's leadership did not order the strike, showing how even forgotten human paranoia has teeth. The Varn internal network fractures completely after this event. Quiet Minds broadcast humanity's true nature to the Varn homeworld. Veitrin's final attempt to annihilate Earth is blocked. Earth and the Quiet Minds begin peace summits. Key character development. Reyes emerges as a symbol of strategic strength tempered with wisdom. Kaito represents humanity's diplomatic evolution. Dr. Shaw's understanding of alien psychology helps avert mass destruction. Veitrin transforms from conqueror to broken relic of a dying ideology. Jeanette becomes a bridge for Varn transformation. Major conflict/turning point. The unsanctioned retaliation from a long-deactivated system nearly reignites full-scale war. Quiet Minds sabotage Veitrin's final command, ending the immediate threat. Themes. HFY core, human ingenuity, layered defense, and emotional restraint. Philosophical clash. Control versus empathy, fear as strength versus weakness. Evolution over destruction. Humanity's greatest strength is what it didn't do. World-building elements. Martian defense relics tied into Cold War legacy tech. Psionic command chains and mental warfare in the Varn hierarchy. Varn culture slowly adapting due to contact with resilient human philosophy. Would you like a compiled version of all 4 chapters together as a full novella? Or an audiobook-ready script version next?